All right, welcome. Wanted to start to do kind of like a daily uh, mid-major with obviously UNCG twist to everything that we're trying to do at Run Up the Score show. I wanted to quickly talk about how good of a game that was last night. Radford is the best team in the Big South, and the crazy thing is, Mike Jones, the coach at Radford, mentioned to me at the end of the game, or when the game was over, that UNCG is the best team they played all year, and that includes Clemson, that includes Texas, who they beat, and Notre Dame, who they beat. So I think it's a really nice, thing for him to say. Obviously, it was a really well played game. Again, they're on the road. Big shock for a mid-major. I think going forward, I like what UNCG did today or last night. They played really well. A lot of really good defensive stops. Rebounded better. The four-guard lineup, West wasn't exactly enamored with it, but it's coming along. I think that's him just being a coach and a perfectionist. I think that going into conference, we start with Sanford, and then we do a game against Chat, and then we're back home for a big weekend with Furman and Wofford back-to-back. I think Wofford's first, the 10th and the 12th, which I hope is going to be around the time that James is back. But there's no rush, man. Like, he's not getting redshirted. He's still in his walking boot. There's no timetable. I don't think that's news to anybody. But at the same time, anybody that's sent me a message, asking about James or the timetable for his return, it's fluid. Oh, but every time I do one of these live streams, I yawn. I'm sorry. So if you end up yawning because I am online, I apologize. But anyway, yeah, I mean, how much better is this team going to be if James comes back, full strength, with guys like Angelo contributing, Demetrius playing really solid perimeter defense, Malik, their best perimeter defender on ball, Isaiah creating, just such a difference maker for this team. Just an absolute, that's the best way to describe Isaiah. He is a difference maker when he's on the court. From the top of the zone to his ability to get to the basket, to his ability to create havoc with deflections, energy. The kid he's energy personified. So, a couple of things in the mid-major landscape. Santa Clara beat USC. Their budgets are pretty close. I think Santa Clara has like a $4 million budget, and USC has like a $6 million budget, so they do more with less. Mark Adams report, not necessarily the biggest upset, but still, Santa Clara beat USC. Buffalo, whose budget is about $1.2 million. Syracuse at home. Jim Boeheim and his whiny face lost to Buffalo. And it's not an upset. It's just not. Like, the people that look at that score and go, oh man, Buffalo beat Syracuse by 12? Yeah, they're better. They're a lot better than Syracuse. And they're probably better than half the ACC. I'd love to see Buffalo play a big-time program like Carolina. I mean, Syracuse is a big-time program, but I'm talking about locally to us, so people could really see, in this area, how good that team is. 14th in the country, undefeated. Another yawn from me. That's 2, or actually 3 if you're counting at home. Apologize in advance. Buffalo, 14th in the country and rising, 11-0. Furman, 12-0, playing at LSU on Friday, also 23rd in the country. What else we got from the mid-major world? San Francisco, man. It's one of those crazy years where I think we're going to have a couple of 2-bid, normally 1-bid conferences are going to end up being a multi-bid, 2-bid league like the West Coast Conference. I think San Francisco and Gonzaga both get in. the MAC may end up getting 2 because, there's a likelihood that Buffalo, not a likelihood, there's a possibility that Buffalo could lose in the conference tournament. They're getting in as an at-large team. If they don't, I think all mid-major basketball conferences and one bid league should unite to be like, what else would you want us to do? These teams aren't coming to us. We schedule these bye games. We beat these teams in their own gym, especially if Syracuse was to get in with an 8-10 conference record. That's an argument for another day. If Buffalo was to lose, let's say, in the finals of the MAC tournament, and they are on the bubble, it would be one of the biggest travesties in college basketball. And I know that there's some people that say, well, it's just Buffalo. Anybody that doesn't know this, the mid-major to low-major landscape is the overwhelming majority of college basketball. It may not be who the media or the mainstream media focuses on, but in a year where we have teams that are, all one bid leagues, like the West Coast Conference, like the MAC, even the Atlantic 10. The Atlantic 10 was going to be a one bid league last year, and Davidson actually snuck in, took away an at-large bid from a higher major, which is great, but they won the conference. They weren't getting in as an at-large team. They were going to the NIT. So it was just going to be URI. So the Atlantic 10, another mid-major-ish team. They're not really a power conference. Conference USA is now a mid-major conference. It's 266 of 353 schools are affected by the one-bid system. So Buffalo kind of breaking that glass ceiling, if you will, in college basketball. San Francisco may do the same thing. They have a rich history, obviously. We'll see. I really like Lipscomb. They're a great team. Obviously, UNCG is playing really well. Nevada is a mid-major, but they're a top 10 team in the country right now. They've done some really good recruiting. I think the thing that people have to understand about these mid-majors, and especially a team like Nevada, I think Nevada has 5 seniors playing, and they're really good, and they have a good recruiting class. So that's the difference. That's kind of the contrast, and we've seen that over the years. Like, that's how Brad Stevens built up Butler. Guys didn't leave early. He had really solid squads. By the time that they're juniors and seniors, they're competing for Final Fours and national championships. And I think that's something that gets lost in some of to bring it back to Spartan Nation. I don't know this personally. I don't know what Wes is thinking, but he's building something here, guys. He's building something here really special. When you build something special with a great staff like Mike Roberts, Andre Gray, Chris Lepore, even guys come back. Like last night, Timothy Pete, who's a grad assistant, got a job at a JUCO school and as an assistant coach. But he was back in town last night. Hung out with him a little bit after the game. He's when you build something special like West, guys come back and see you. They want to be a part of the culture and everything that goes with it, and the family. And with the recruiting class he has coming in next year and the returners, this team is going to continue to get better. What's this team going to look like when Isaiah Miller is a senior? I mean, they're going to be Nevada. I'm telling you, there's no rhyme or reason why this team, with the kids from Greensboro, the Langley twins, Derico Williams, Isaiah Miller, Michael Hewitt, these kids, Caleb Hunter, Angelo Allegri, Muhammad Abdul Salam, these kids are the future. And when these kids are juniors and seniors, they have the potential to be a ranked, team in the Southern Conference that is going to compete for Sweet 16s, Elite 8s, Final Fours, just the way Butler did. Isaiah Miller is a professional basketball player. He just is. The only thing that God didn't bless him with is height. But he makes up for it with heart, and he makes up for it with his ability. I mean, his athleticism is off the charts. So anyway, the correlation to a team like Nevada, who's got a really 21, 22-year-old men that are playing basketball, they're going to be a tough out in the NCAA tournament. That's a mid-major. Obviously, Gonzaga is the ultimate mid-major. I struggle calling them a mid-major. They were ranked number 1 in the country at one point. And part of it is because they've lost some of the mid-major edge of, like having to go on the road all the time. And they still do, don't get me wrong. I mean, their non-conference schedule is a bear because they have to. And they also know that their conference schedule, the WCC, isn't very good. So, San Francisco, St. Mary's notwithstanding. So, it's one of those things where they just don't have to get bought anymore. And maybe I'm wrong. I don't know that for a fact, but I'm pretty confident in my assertion that they don't get bought anymore. So, they're still a mid-major. But they're a big time program, and I really hope that what we're looking at is some really solid mid-major runs in this tournament, because that's what, in the eyes of a lot of these coaches, that's what gets you to that next level. It's not as great as Buffalo winning at Syracuse. That's fantastic. No one's going to care if Syracuse is in the Elite Eight and Buffalo is losing the first round of the NCAA tournament. You have to win multiple games. You have to get to the second weekend. That's the key to really make your program the ascension that it needs. And maybe it's incremental. I take UNCG. Maybe they get into the tournament this year. Maybe they're an 11 or a 12 seed because of having a really dominant conference team and schedule and whatnot, and the only losses are to high majors and maybe like 1 or 2 conference losses, so that would make them 27-4 or something like that, something crazy. They get an 11 or a 12 seed and they win 1 game, and then the following year they win 2 games. That's how you start to make a name for yourself. Then UNCG pops up on the NCAA bracket, and it's like, oh, I remember that team. They almost beat Gonzaga. Then they beat so-and-so. Then they got to the Sweet 16. So that's a possibility for some of these squads. Definitely for Nevada. Definitely for Gonzaga. Buffalo is 100%. I believe is a second weekend team, Sweet 16 team, maybe even further. I think UNCG has an opportunity to make some noise in the NCAA tournament, given that they're healthy. San Francisco, they're good. They're a fantastic team. If you're a hoops fan, and even if you need to take a little nap to make sure that you stay up and watch that team, they are fantastic. I would say my top 5 mid-majors right now would be, I'm not even going to put Gonzaga in. Forget, they're too good. They've ascended past that. So Nevada would be 1. Buffalo would be 2. And that could easily flip for me. I would go San Francisco 3. I would take UNCG 4 right now. I would take Furman 4 and UNCG 5. So I would take two SoCon teams in the top 5 of mid-majors in the country. And the reason why I like Furman is because they have momentum and they play really well within themselves. No big-time stars, but they have about 7 guys that can beat you from inside out. That's huge. So kudos to Bob Ritchie and his staff. But that's it, guys. I'm gonna head out, and I got some errands to run before I take a little break from doing some college basketball stuff. But there's a lot of really cool stuff on the horizon. I promise you that. I'm working really hard on kind of creating a different media platform for mid-majors, and when I get more details that I can share, I will 100% do that. And any type of engagement that you guys want to have with me, I'm happy to do so. The email is runupthescoreshow@gmail.com. If you're into the Point Forward podcast, there's also a Point Forward podcast email, pointforwardpodcast@gmail.com. So those are the 2 shows that I'm doing. Also, if you are still looking for, let's say, a holiday gift for a family member that's a big basketball fan, especially in this area, cyalexander.com. If you click, I'm pretty sure if you click on the link that is there, $3 goes to Coaches versus Cancer. So I think the paperbacks are $24 and the hardcovers are $20 or $35. So listen, Cy is a great guy. Guy's got 30 years coaching experience in historically black college and universities: Howard, South Carolina State, Tennessee State, and here in Greensboro, North Carolina A&T. The guy is an absolute gem of a basketball coach. He's told me so many fun stories. I love working with him. So if you guys can go and check out his book, cyalexander.com, to kind of to purchase his book, that would be fantastic. So you can get it anywhere else, but the charitable aspect is on his website. So if you went to Amazon and bought it, obviously the NABC and Coaches versus Cancer doesn't get anything. But if you go to his website, there's a portion of it, I think it's like $3 goes to Coaches versus Cancer. So, and it's circulating all through college basketball. So everywhere I go, people are like, "Oh, that book?" Yeah. So it's definitely he's a big time coach, big time author now, and one of my good friends. So hopefully you guys can check that out. Anyway, have a great day. I'm probably not going to do anything tomorrow, but I'm definitely going to jump on to talk about Furman, LSU over the weekend. Even if I do it on the road, I may do kind of like a little live stream as I'm driving up to see my parents up in the Northeast. So hope everybody has a great day, and we'll talk soon.